May this be one of the best moments of your life. You're listening to the BusinessMirror podcast for a broader look on business with Senior Editor Dennis Estopace.
I'm Dennis Estopace, and welcome to Tuesdays with Tito, a podcast to be anchored by Tito Valiente, one of the 100 honorees in the Centenary of Philippine Cinema and columnist for the BusinessMirror newspaper. Mr. Valiente will share with us one of the many pieces he wrote for his column titled Annotations, which is published every Friday in the op-ed section of the BusinessMirror. We hope you enjoy your Tuesday with Tito.
Coffee with manners. What makes a good coffee? That is not a simple question. Other people have even asked simpler questions. Conrad Aiken asked, "What is the flower?" Then he answered, "It is not a sigh of color." He then asked, "What is the frost?" Then he answered, "It is not the sparkle of death." The poet went on and on like any poet, till he exhausted all the answers without being exhausting. We become, as in the poet, what we ask and what we answer to what we ask. We, if we are Aiken with our frost and flower and coffee, become our coffee and mornings and breakfasts. But what happens if we have a rotten coffee, a breakfast with a sigh, and a morning that is frosty? Those questions happen because of many things. One morning over late breakfast, Lem, a good friend, noticed how the cafe we frequent had become noisy and rowdy. What to do? We left the cafe. But the Americano in that place can make you say lovely to yourself without pretenses. The mug, if they use the mug, has a mouth that is not wide enough. You sip the coffee without the act of kissing in your mind. Kissing is one thing, sipping is another. Then the brew manifests itself. There is the bitterness that is the product of the beans and not about memories of unrequited love. It is a bitterness that does not require the binary of sweetness, for that would make your equation bittersweet, and that is not coffee, but passion and love and sorrow already. We are talking of coffee here, and my point is the cafe offers a drink that cannot be abandoned easily. That morning, though, had a crowd that did not seem to recognize the notion of proper meaning of public. In the open field of the public is also the notion of the private space, the boundaries of you and they, the arena where the self needs the respect of other selves. The second time we visited the place, because we were really craving for that perfect brew, or at least to our mind, the taste that satisfies our dream of perfection on this earth, there was a group of 3 men whose voices were so loud you could jot down the numbers they were screaming to each other. They were throwing millions at each other so loudly I wondered they did not do that in the boardroom where they, as trustees, could discuss their wealth to death as their seeds of eternal greed, to distort Aiken's lines. Is there ever a cafe where there was a kind of silence, or a quiet that can make your croissant and butter melt into each other? Will there ever be a cafe in this nation where the strawberry jam can seduce you to forgive the effect of sugar in your diabetic life? Can I find a cafe where my space is slowly creating its own spaces because the other people do not think of themselves as imploding galaxies? Make your own coffee shop, a friend suggested, to which I said I do not have that money. Ask a cafe to have rules, another friend advised, to which I said, why not indeed? The cafe with good manners. My sister offered a name. The cafe with good manners and right conduct. I finally conceded. As this being of a cafe circulated around friends and acquaintances, more ideas started to filter in. The cafe will be open to public. The first time you use the cafe, you will be given a copy of house rules. The rules are simple. They are basic good manners. They will pertain to a kind of order that transforms the cafe into a lovely place. Here are the basic rules. Keep your voice down. The person beside you may not always be interested about networking and the whitening products you are selling. Keep your domestic squabbles at home. The Brooks Brothers shirts and the Kate Spade bag can never save you from damnation if you are loudmouthed and brash. If you are mad at your wife, do not transfer that rage onto the young man or woman at the counter preparing your latte. They do not care about your pinstriped and perfumed angst. The chairs in cafe are for you to sit on. Do not stretch your legs so that they extend to another chair. If your legs are edematous, use the special socks. Do not curl up into the chair unless you are an obese cat. This cafe does not prohibit laughter. In fact, a nice laugh always contributes to the color of the morning. A slap of red there, a swish of yellow here, that is the function of a laugh. But as you are not God, do not attempt to color the whole day with your laughter. Worse, do not color with your huge laughter the day of others. Be conscious of your weight. My mentor in sociology and my terrific teacher in statistics, Dr. Ricky Abad, used to caution us about correlations. But let me venture into a kind of correlation here. Why is it that women and men who are big tend to laugh louder and with such espresso vulgarity in cafe? I cannot say they are not in other places, but several times I observed how when a group of hefty men and women enter a cafe, they speak in loud guttural sounds. Is that what is called throwing one's weight around? Religion has no place in cafe, whether you are expressing your religious beliefs or selling them. In cafe, if you want to pray, pray quietly. I am certain if the man beside you wants to join you in your Hail Mary, he will do so on his own or in a church with you even. And really, I assure you, with the scent of all kinds of brewing in the cafe, your gods and my gods are open to listening to us. If you are selling religion, the cafe is not for you either. In a cafe, we repair in the morning to ask simple questions without anyone hearing our questions. In a cafe, we ask questions but do not seek answers, because the coffee and the cake or bread shall answer for us. As regards the cafe with good manners, the first time you break a rule, you will not be allowed anymore into the cafe. Is this constitutional, you may ask? Who cares about constitutions? But it is our human right to have coffee, you may say. Well, if you really want coffee, then you can brew yourself.
Thank you for listening to the Business Mirror podcast. For a broader look on business, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Business Mirror. Until next time.